because there was disobedience. And so over in 14, David learned this lesson. He said, Lord, shall we go up? Shall we? He says, you will go up and you will conquer. But in chapter 13, because he was disobedient, someone's life was lost. So if we're talking about launching out, there's got to be obedience first and foremost. You know, I don't want to get too far because I'm trying to time myself. But we understand. So let's go in chapter 14 again, verse 10. And David inquired of God. Then the Lord said to him, go up, for I will deliver them into your hand. So they went up to Baal-perazim, and David defeated them there. Then David said, God has broken through my enemies, what? By my hand, like a breakthrough of water. And therefore they called it Baal-perazim. I don't know if your Bible shows this, but at the bottom it says that Baal-perazim literally translated means master of what? Master of the breakthrough. Master of the breakthrough. Master of the breakthrough. Because he was obedient and he was in order. That's the second point. Order has to be in the place. Order has to be the order of the day. Let's go back to chapter 13 real quick. Because, again, here's what we're talking about the worship part. Look at verse 6, is it? Well, verse 6 through 8. But verse 8 really sets it out. It says, then David and all Israel played music before God with all their might, with singing on harps, stringed instruments, tamarines, cymbals, and with trumpets. They did all of this. All of this. They did all this praising. They did all this worshiping. All this that they were doing. And then look at verse 9. And they came to Chidon's threshold floor. Other put out his hand to hold the ark, for the oxen stumbled. Then the anger of the Lord was aroused against him. Why? Because he was out of order. What are you saying? What does that got to do with what we're doing here today? Because look at verse 8. They praised God. They praised him with everything. They worshiped him. They was dancing, like they never danced before, sang like they never sang before, played the tamarines and instruments like they never played before, thinking they were going to justify being out of order and being disobedient. All the praise, all the prayer, all the worship in the world will not do us any good if we are out of order and walking disobediently before God. David learned his lesson, though. Let's go back to chapter 14. Because verse 13 says, then the Philistines once again made a raid on the valley. Therefore, what did he do? David inquired of God. He didn't ask the people. He didn't ask the leaders. He went to God. He was obedient. He was now in order. Okay? And then it says, he inquired of God. But then the Lord says, you shall not go up after them. Circle around them and come upon them in front of the mulberry trees. And it shall be when you hear the sound of marching in the top of the mulberry trees, then you shall go out to battle. For God has gone out before you to strike the camp of the Philistines. David sought God. He inquired of him. David was obedient to the direction, to the instruction of God. And David did what God said do. And what happened as a result of that? So David did as God commanded him, and they drove back the army of the Philistines from Gibeon as far as Gezer. Now, that distance about 20 miles. So they sent them running about 20 miles. But they really didn't send them running because, look at here, he says that the Lord said that don't go up. Don't go after them. Just circle around them. I'm going to do the work this time. The first time, I want you, David, to do the work. Because I want you to understand that I can deliver by your hand. But understand this, David, that there's a time where I'm going to deliver by my hand and only by my hand. There's a time when I'm going to move. And I will not need your help, David. But understand, when it is time, David, you need to know when to move and when not to move. When to work and when to lay back and let me work. I like this part, though,